Good morning. Hello, Claire. How's the north? Good morning, everybody. I said it's been a very quiet, relaxed morning. Everybody has actually gone back to Israel, and we just made a wedding for my nephew last Thursday. Had 70 people for Shalosh Seudos for third meal Shabbos day, after Friday, whatever. Everybody in and out. And we just blessed. And then I spent Sunday and Monday organizing the shopping, because you come from Israel, my sister and my mother have to do all their shopping and take them out and the outings. And now we're breathing again, and the day started early, and we're very blessed, and we're in Elul, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we better get into this Elul thing. So today's actually the 10th of Elul, our grandson's birthday, who turned 16. Was the 9th of Elul yesterday, and today's the English anniversary of our Tehillah and Dov 17 years. And it feels like, where does the time go? It's just not imaginable. And then this morning I just told Nisa and Dalia, Hashem can help you to do all strange things that you just want to do. So I actually, with Zoom, Baruch Hashem, I could interview somebody who lives in Hendon instead of her getting here. And because we could do that and we're on Zoom, I said, do you mind just carrying on telling the story while I take my son to yeshiva? So I dropped him at learning while she carried on with her story, came back home. She was finishing up her story. And then Dalia was on for 10 o'clock. So I said, there you go. I'm just going to open up my door, get some air in here while we can still open. And we had this beautiful thunderstorms last night. The world is in a crazy place. We have a new prime minister. I don't know if anybody noticed or knows the difference or cares. So all these things are kind of there for us. And you know what? As long as it's good for us, but we've got a lot of work to do. Nitsa, I don't know if you by any chance know the name of the man who passed away. Okay, try and get it, but we'll learn in his merit from somebody who was passed away in our community, in the Jewish community yesterday. And for all those, we've had a rough summer. That's all I can tell you. It's been a rough summer. But Hashem's just saying, actually, with all this and all the roughness and everything that's going on, actually, you're coming closer to me. And as long as we do get closer to Hashem, then we're actually okay. And the more we realize, I have a friend going through a real strange challenge. When somebody says, I need to speak to you about something, and then you sort of like have every thought and whatever, and then it's a thing that you just can't imagine. And I just say that in the schus, I can't say his name, just in case anybody might recognize the name. But yeah, it's because it's got a very specific name, but he should just, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should just really look after everybody and bring the truth and the MS to where it needs to really be. And I said, for Elul, at this time, we have to remind ourselves that there's only one judge. There's only one judge. There's only one place that runs the world, and that's Hashem. And when we understand that and know that, it doesn't matter what really takes place, because, Liz Truss is in because Hashem put her there. Whatever's going to be is going to be. It's a place of, this is where we are. Good morning, Sharon. How are you?
Good morning.
The place of where we are is recognizing and always understanding that whatever happens, and remind yourself, and we have to say it aloud. We have to say it aloud. And when we don't behave in the way exactly that we should, we've got to say, actually, well, why are you doing that? Because Hashem decides how this happens. It's your choice how you want to behave. Our choice of behavior is something that we actually make a choice on. Please God, we are going to get to listen to this interview, of which I just to read it. And it's fascinating, because one of the things, and she's somebody who's succeeded beautifully, it doesn't make a difference because you know the story. You might have seen Danielle Benadou on our program when we had her on a Thursday night. But here was somebody who was very successful, who was in Karen Millen, Max Mara, Armani, all these like big names. And actually, Baruch Hashem, she came to the choice of choosing her Judaism and her Torah values and lifestyle. And it was funny because she said to me at some time, you know, all you people think like, so I said to her, I believe that she's a real role model for the world, you know, because you become in things in these famous places. I said, I'm so sorry, but actually, I'm not one of those people. My question really is, how did you manage to see through all the rubbish? You know, when people talk about Caroline Cohen, Pachter, who, you know, could have been in the West, on the, you know, on the biggest stages in the world and being famous, and said, you don't even know you would have been there. You don't know how long it would have lasted. You know, your manager could have decided 3 weeks after you get into, you know, you're on the stage with Les Mis, and 3 weeks later they decide, no, you're not there anymore. You know, we've got another new pretty girl who's much more accessible to me, you know, and that's the real world. And we don't know what happens. There was a great guy, Roger, wise name, not coming to me anyway. And he was dancing in Starlight Express. You know, he was where it was. And he had an accident on his rollerblades on the stage. We don't know anything. If we aren't who we are, how do you make those choices? And it was very interesting because she said something very, very, like, quite poignant in that she said, you know, when I asked her, I said, look, I don't like all these big fancy names and everything. It doesn't impress me. You know, big deal. You know, if you're carrying a Prada bag or something else, I don't really care. I had a fake Prada, and she was laughing at me because I told her, I said, 20 years ago back, I was learning with someone and she gave me a bag for my birthday and wrote a note in it, don't worry, it's not real. And I'm like opening it, putting my hand in, pulled the zip, like, what's not real about this bag? I don't get it. You know, and then my daughters came home from high school, and a very from high school. And I said, it's so funny. I got this like present and it says, don't worry, it's not real. And my daughter, they just burst out laughing. It's Prada, Mom. And I was like, well, what's Prada? And that's when I found out about Prada. So, you know, the next time I was in Brent Cross, I had to go look at Prada. You know, it's like, don't be stupid. What you wasting your time? And I'm like laughing because I had to see the price tags. That's all. Okay. So I asked her, how did you see through all the sheker, all the falseness, all the falsehood, like of what this all stands for? It's nothing, you know. I used to take my granddaughters to town. We went to town every year, and you know, it was like fun. We'd go into town, and I'd go to Selfridges, and I'd even the last time we went to town together, I took them to Disney World or Euro Disney, wherever you chose to be. You know, and they make fun of that. So we went to the Disney shop, and I said, girls, don't tell anybody that I haven't taken you to Disney World. You know, so we went, that's it. We went to Euro Disney, Disney World, Disneyland, it doesn't matter. And actually what we've decided to do today, we're going to go for a walk somewhere in one of the parks or the Heath. Anyway, we'll see what happens with the weather, but I thought we'll take some food, and Neets is going to be so happy with this. And anyway, so my granddaughter is doing art A-levels, GCSE, first in A-levels, and stunning. And she is going to, good morning, Emma. And she's going to go, she had to pick up some things on the Broadwalk. So I said to her, let's do, you know, we'll come home and we will do a paint party. You know, we can run a paint party. So I'll have, I think there are 1, 2, 3, only 4 granddaughters are coming. And we're going to do our paint party at home, you know, because we used to laugh about it. Like, what do you do? Like, do we really want to just go into town and walk through the shops again? No, it's just something to do. So we create things to do which build memories and build good things. And that's what we thought of. And I thought, you know, it's also connected, because everything that we do and how we do it has to connect to where we are and what we're supposed to be doing in the world, right? And when we see that everything has an energy of time and space, okay, everything has its time and space energy. We're now in that month, which we should actually be feeling, oh my goodness, what can I do better today? And I'm, you know, and believe me, with all the things that I'm doing, I'm thinking, okay, why did you say that? Why did you do that? Just keep quiet about that. You know, there are a lot of things on Friday morning, just because we had nothing else to do. Thursday night was the wedding of my nephew, and Friday, Shabbos, Friday, we had like, we're having about whatever, 70 people for third meal. And I did have to do some preparations. But I told my niece's husband, he's Israeli, he had actually just, while he was here, his grandfather of 98 passed away. So he was going literally from the airport when he got home to the Shiva, and he was close to his grandfather. It was very hard him being here. But when we did have Rosh Hashanah, I included his grandfather's name. Anyway, he wanted to go. He has a sister who has never been married at 41 and very successful young lady, got everything going for her, and he wanted to go to pray by the Shotzer Rebbe's kever in Enfield. So I said, well, of course we'll go. So we went, even on a Friday morning before, but you have to know what happened to me. My sister wanted to come with. And I was so worrying and trying to make everybody happy, this, and I asked the other sister, I drove past to see if she would come with. Good morning, Sharon, Brand. And I was like, that I forgot to take my sister who was staying in our house. And you know what? Like I just said, okay, Hashem, just forgive me. I said I was standing there and davening for her husband who's got to have knee surgery, for her 2 daughters who are expecting. And I'm like, I didn't even think I forgot to take her. Only when I got home, I got greeted with, you forgot to take me. And I was like, Hashem, how did I do that? Okay. And he said, well, you're doing too much. So you can't do anything else. You're not going to take her back again. So just apologize. And that's what we learn in all these things to do. And I sort of look at these things and I think, okay, Hashem, I've got lots of apologies to make to you. So let's start the process now. Okay. The more we can connect and tell Hashem all the good that I'm doing, please never forget about the good. Okay. Because we have to put that there for him too. This is what I'm trying with. This is how much you don't know how hard it was for me, Hashem, to keep. And he's saying, of course I know, don't be silly. But I've got to tell him, do you know how hard that was for me? So for those moments that I kept that, and then I was like, oh my gosh, they drive me mad. I had somebody who came to help. And when somebody, I don't know if anybody knows, but sometimes people who walk into your house and they just sort of start doing things like, I'm like, she was washing up dishes. I'm like, I put them in the dishwasher. Oh, well, they washed already. I'm thinking like, well, that's not helpful, but just thanks so much, Well, now what can I do? And I'm like, you're either here, like I'm saying in my head, you're either here to help, and that goes in the pace that we're doing, or you know what? Go home and sleep and come back in an hour, which they did. And we were done and ready when they came back, which was much calmer for me, I was like, thanks so much. And all the girls just got together, and you just get everything together. Everything becomes lighter. But when you start looking at all of it, it just becomes heavy on us. So we're going to start telling Hashem every day now. Okay, this is what I've done. This is what I'm working on. This is how I'm trying to get closer to you. And just help me to do better on all the things, because that's what we do. Ani l'doidi v'doidi li Hashem. I want to become close to you. I want to be close to you, and I want you to feel close to me, because this is what I'm working on. And young Chosson and Kala, when they get married, there's lots of things that they've got to be thinking of. Anyway, we're going to the airport, and somebody says, oh, did you speak to the Chosson, to my nephew? So, and then my husband messaged me, did anybody tell him to call Granny before she left? I'm like, I quickly sent a message to his wife, which is really cute. And anyway, so she sent me a message, tried to call Granny, but she's not answering because she didn't have Wi-Fi. So I could have said, oh, I told her to call you, because that would be really nice to do. But instead, I clicked on the message and I forwarded it to my mother. And she was like, oh, that's lovely. I will try and call her when I get back to Israel. Now, again, it's a choice. Okay. Oh, you lovely. Thanks, Dals. I don't even think my mom's seen her phone. I'm telling you, yesterday, Rohama said, can we take you out for lunch? No response. I'm like, well, I ended up taking everybody for pizza lunch. I was traumatized yesterday. I just, oh, look at that. Oh, I'll have some. Is that your curry, Dal? I think, girls, don't you think we all deserve a meal made by these ladies? I think we should make a party and have a meal made by the ladies. Oh, okay. Well, you can put it on the group because I can't read it from there. Okay. So yesterday, I just have to share my trauma with all of you. I went to order pizza because they decided they wanted pizza for Mr. Baker. So I walk into Mr. Baker and you go to order and the guy says to you, put it on this computer screen. So they're like 5 different pizzas. You can make your own pizza. There's a natural. I've got nuclear. Then my mother didn't want chilies. I didn't know how to take off the chilies. Then the machine keeps coming up and saying, hi, are you still there? And I'm like, yes, you stupid thing. I'm like, and then I said to the guy behind, I said, look, I'm getting traumatized by these pizzas. He says, just order it at the till. So I order at the till, and then she's still got to write on the piece of paper, like what to take off or what to add on. I'm thinking like, this is not, anyway, I think I go get also falafel for my husband so he doesn't have to have pizza. Then I leave, like, because I'm like, enough of this pizza. It's like, just give us a silly pizza, you know? And I left without what he gave me my pizzas. I didn't check that I've got all my pizzas. I left one pizza behind. I'm like, forget it, I'm done. No more Mr. Baker pizzas. We're done. Anybody else wants them, you go get them, you order them. And that becomes that place where we just say, enough is enough. So I wanted to share with you a really lovely idea from Rabbi David Rav Shimshon Pinkus. Rav Shimshon David Pinkus. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. Rabbi Pinkus and his wife and some children were killed in a car accident, tragically. Rabbi Pinkus's oldest son is married to the eldest daughter of Rebbetzin Altusky. Now, I meant to have a look. I don't remember how many years ago it is, but it's a lot of years because Rebbetzin Altusky is, okay, I don't know. Rebbetzin Altusky, this was 2014, so it's before 2014. It's at least 10, 12 years ago. Rebbetzin Altusky was probably close to 80 when this happened, and she used to go every single Thursday afternoon to go and help, because Rebbetzin Altusky's daughter, can you just close it? Thank you. Rebbetzin Altusky's daughter took on the children that were left as orphans. They took them into their home and they became part of her and her husband, the elder brother's family. They parented them. And she would go every Thursday afternoon and she'd go and help with making food, and she'd do the folding of the washing, and she would take stuff with her, and she used to go with her backpack, and she'd get on the bus and she'd go to Ofakim, which was a good couple of hours drive there and back. And here was this woman in her advanced age going and schlepping and doing. And that was her Erev Shabbos things that she did for these people. And you can't imagine the chesed. So, you know, you see the closeness of the relationship, because why are they doing this all? Because they're Hashem's children. That's why we do it. These are all Hashem's children. It doesn't make a difference. Each and every one of us have to remind ourselves, you know, that we are Hashem's children, and he loves each of us the same, because he understands what it means to love his children equally, right? I say that I do. I work on doing that. I don't know if I do, but I say I do, and I can tell myself enough that I love each and every one of them equally. And we work on that constantly and consistently. And it's not always an easy thing to do. It's just not an easy thing to do. That's the reality. Okay, some personalities are easier for us because they're less the same. Sometimes the more similar the personalities, the harder it is, because we see the and the strength and all these things which are so important for us, and yet that's what we need to do. So Rabbi Pinkus tells us, he says that how do we acquire the relationship and closeness with Hashem? How do we do this? It's a lot of work, and it's a lifelong work. So we may as well start and do a little bit of this and understand. And the reason that I want to share this daily stories and the things that happen to us, because they're regular things. But every single regular thing, has a place with Hashem in it. So even going yesterday to Mr. Baker, there was no parking outside. There was a parking going on the left-hand side on the same side, but as I was going to go in, somebody had stopped, saw the parking, and reversed in. Then I did a turn around, and outside Be Kosher, there was a parking that I was just about to reverse into, and the lady in her white Tesla, may I just add, not that I noticed, didn't notice me that I'd stopped and put my indicator on, and I was like, okay. So I turned right. Then the first parking, which was nearer to Brent Street on the left-hand side, somebody was going out, and I was waiting to let them go out. But somebody else that I knew in their big Previa decided that they could, and I was like, okay. So I laughed. So she's, hi, how are you? And she's, oh, I'm sorry. I said, no, it's okay. I was just waiting for them to go out so I could have the parking and whatever, but that's okay. Just, it's okay. So I went literally 4 cars down, and there was another parking waiting for me. Easier to get into, no parking meter, no need to call Anita to say, please pay for my parking again. And so that was Anita's Siyata Dishmaya. But there I was, I had my parking. We have no clue what could have, would have, and should have. But we don't think about that. We just think about sometimes that challenge of, I missed that parking, then I missed that parking, then I missed that parking. Oh, finally I got a parking. And I have to say, no. I didn't get that parking for one reason, that for another, and I don't know what those reasons are or will ever be. And it could be that Hashem just literally came to give me an extra little test, but he gave it to me inside trying to order pizza. It's okay. Okay. So these are those things that are everyday occurrences. There's nothing fantastic about this. It's normal life. And that's where we've got to look at normal life, okay, helping us to become closer to Hashem and help ourselves to, okay, because that's what it is. So he tells us that the foundation of the whole Torah is what we call emunah, faith in Hashem. Faith in Hashem. That's it. Faith in the Torah and faith in our chachamim, our learned teachers, our sages. Okay, so all the things that they've written down for us from the earliest time that we had anything written down in halakha or in anything, we have to believe and have faith that these are Hashem's representatives, and this is the emunah and the place that he brings for us. That's where we are. A Jew is obligated to believe even in matters that are above his understanding and far beyond the reach of each and every one of our feelings. Stuff. You know, why am I here? Why did he put me here? Why did he put me not there? Why am I in my body and not in somebody else's? I don't know, you know, why is my intelligence mine and not someone else's? Each person has to remind themselves, it doesn't matter how we feel about something. This is the place that Hashem has put us to go through our process and to get to our personal achievement. Okay? With Everything that goes on around us, this is what is really expected of us. That's it. It's as simple as that. One of the things we need to believe is that in this month of Elul, the month of Elul is a tremendous and awesome time. Now we can start focusing. I'm finished with the wedding, everyone's gone back to Israel, but what happened to 10 days? Oh dear. Okay, so where are we now? I have to remind myself that this is where we have to start, and we have to know that this time period, the energy, wherever we are in the world, okay, there's crazy stuff going on in Israel, you should know. Crazy. It's like it's not even, you don't even want to mention it, you know. It's like we've got a new prime minister, as I said to somebody, or I don't know whoever was here on before. Do we care? Has it made a difference to your life? Do we, you know, like, hi? And the really got to say the only thing that really matters is whose friend she is when it comes to the Jews. That's all. That's all we have to daven for. That, please God, we're able to have her, you know, and I don't know, because I've got no idea what her policies are. I guess I'll start trying to find out a little bit more. But this is where we are. And it's also, you know, I don't know, is it always good to have a woman? Yeah. But for what? You know, sometimes men, you know, want to fight women more just because there's a woman there, and that's not good for their ego. You know, those are the things. But who knows? Hashem put her in that place, and we'll wait and see what really happens. But we don't have to worry about that. All we have to be concerned about is ourselves. Our rabbis and our teachers and the great teachers of Israel, why do they make such a big deal of Elul? Right? So people like Rav Yisrael Salanter, who was really one of our beautiful, great teachers of moral ethics and of personally growing and helping us to rectify ourselves. He said that they were on about Rav Yisrael, a remark that all the days of the year need to be like Elul. And Elul itself is surely Elul. Right? So can you imagine living on that level? Like every single day you feel is like an Elul. Well, you know what? Somebody like Rav Yisrael Salanter can do it, but not everybody can. And Hashem, actually in his generosity and his mercy, says, you know, we have Purim, then we have Pesach, right? Then he gives us a rest, and he says, now you've got the 7 weeks. You've had a busy time, Purim and Pesach. Now I'm going to give you the time before Shavuos. Then we're going to go into another challenging time of 3 weeks and Tisha B'Av. And then you're going to start thinking again, what went wrong? What did we do wrong? How am I now, as an individual, going to get closer to Hashem at this time before Rosh Hashanah? So the frightening thing about being at the 10th of Elul, it means that actually Rosh Hashanah is pretty close. I was trying to actually remember Rosh Hashanah last year. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know. There's so much of a blur of different things. But really right now we have this opportunity to look and say, how do I do this? Okay. So Rabbi Pinker says that we would recount the questions and the things that Rabbi Yisrael Salanter would say. He says, what is it? He says, we should greet the month of Elul with awe. We should actually be afraid of Elul. And is this true? Should we be afraid of it? And Rabbi Yisrael Salanter asks, Elul is more terrifying than a bear. I don't know, I think it was on this group, somebody put up that, was it on this group? That somebody put up that picture, which, do you want to send it out to the group? Thanks, Neets. Neets will send you this thing that's on. And really there's this big guy with his big sword, and there we are, these little people. Should we be that scared? Should we? And maybe we should be. It's a real thing. And if we were, but the awe comes in a different place, in a different way. The awe of Hashem, right, is the thing that we should just be saying, what it should not be. It should be that all I need to really do is get better at doing my mitzvahs and better at not doing negative commandments. That's all. Makes a little bit of sense. And why is it so simple when it is so difficult? He said it should be more terrifying than a bear. David HaMelech, King David says, your servant has smitten the lion and the bear. David did not fear these animals, but he nevertheless said about himself, David HaMelech said about himself, good morning, Shalamet. My flesh stood on end from your dread, and I feared your judgment. David was seized by the terrible fear of Hashem's judgment on Rosh Hashanah. Okay? Our place has to be that when we think about it, our connection and our closeness to Hashem has to come through a lot of love. We're living in a generation, this negativity and the fear and everything, it doesn't do good for people. What we have to look for is to find favor in Hashem's eyes. Rav Pinkas says that it's hard for us to understand this fear. People wonder to themselves, what is all the panic about? I've been living for 20, 40, and 50 years, and I'm still here and alive. Why should I think that I will die right now? And if so, what is the meaning of the plea composed by our rabbis, by Chazal, for the prayers that we have to remind ourselves? Zochreinu l'chaim, remember us for life. Melech hafetz b'chaim, O king who desires, Hashem wants life. For this, we need simple emunah. We just have to have the faith in Hashem that He's going to do this for us. And you know what the best thing is? To live b'simcha. To be there in simcha, in happiness. Hashem wants us to be happy. If du es Hashem b'simcha. Serve Hashem with simcha. Thank you, Hashem, for allowing me and giving the ability to do this. Thank you, Hashem, for having me here to be able to just be good to people, for doing chesed, to be able to thank Hashem for the things, to be able to focus on other people and to know that we can do and that we are doing good. And what do we need for this? Simple faith, simple emunah. Hashem, where you have put me is where you're going to take me out of. Where you have put me is where I'm going to draw on the strength to be able to continue it and to do this well. Good morning, Aishadaya. Good morning, Laura. Right? So this is where it is. He says, and in fact, that is what the Rambam tells us. And the Rambam says, we were commanded to believe in Hashem's fear and to be afraid of Hashem. Not like those who deny Hashem and go along the way that they see fit for themselves according to chance. Rather, we should fear Hashem's punishment at all times. This is the meaning of you shall fear Hashem your God. You know, I'm sure that all of you have heard, and if you haven't heard, I'll fill you in about Dalia Chana Basaraleh. She's an 18-year-old girl who is in Echelab Hospital, who was given by Hashem both meningitis and, come on, help me. What's it? Meningitis, encephalitis, right? Meningitis, encephalitis, and simply that came from Epstein-Barr, from the Epstein-Barr syndrome, which is, it could be nothing. It just passes through or it sticks and stays. Her state. She went in 3 days, within 3 days of having a temperature and fever, she was in Echelab Hospital, non-responsive. I think we're 5 or 6 weeks down the line, correct me if I'm wrong. The chesed that has gone into this family and shown them how amazing and awesome Hashem's children are, who know them, don't know them, and just do and offer and bring and whatever. And yesterday, was it yesterday or Friday? I can't remember when it was. one of the most beautiful messages that have been since she was ill. Baruch Hashem, it's time to share some positive news about Dalia. Over the past couple of days, she has become more aware of her surroundings and more alert. She is now showing us facial expressions and able to mouth words and short sentences. Obviously, no sounds coming out yet, but the fact that we can understand what she is saying is a huge achievement. In addition to this, Dalia has started to feel sensations in her arm, so we can touch her and she can feel it. These are such huge steps, and even Dalia has laughed a little when we are trying to work out what she's saying. To top this wonderful Shabbos off, today we went to the hospital and they have moved her into a mechanical chair next to her bed. This enables the physio to be able to start moving her lower body and hopefully build some strength. She still remains unable to move her limbs from neck down on her own. Now, physios and rehabilitation are involved. We hope this will see some improvement over the coming days, weeks, and months. This is so far from where we were 4 weeks ago. And please God, our prayers are being answered. We know she has a long way to go, and we have explained this to her. But being able to communicate and make sure she is not in pain is a massive step forward. Please continue to pray for her full recovery. And please God, we will continue to share positive news with you all. Thank you everyone for your continued messages and support, the Purcell family. And on the other side, you know, we know nothing. We know nothing. You know, when I was in Eretz Yisrael, I went on the Wednesday night to Kever Rachel. My nephew took me with my sister. It was very, very busy, but it's just wonderful to just be there. And then on Motzei Shabbos, my friend came to visit from Telstone, and another friend came from Ramat Beit Shemesh, and my friend from Salsa said, come, should we go to Kever Rachel? I said, oh my gosh, absolutely. It was midnight. And we went to Kever Rachel. And I always like to go and daven by Nava Applebaum's dress. And it actually got a bit cold with the air conditioning, and there weren't that many people. And I moved closer to the kever, and I knew the time was coming close for us to go. And I moved close to the kever, and there was somebody there in one of these electric wheelchairs. I didn't know who it was, and I didn't want to look. You don't want to, you know. And a woman came up to this lady, and she said to her, I just want to tell you, now this woman in the chair was just lying there, absolutely, yeah, eyes shut, no whatever. And she said to her, I have to tell you that when you were able to speak, you changed my life for me. You changed my life. And I just want to thank you for that, because you taught me that until there's something that you need to worry about, don't worry about it. I was a very anxious person. I always worried, like, what if, when this, what if that? And when I looked at you and I stopped worrying about that, you changed my life for me. And then her daughter, who looked about 18, 19, came over, and she said to her as well, I want to thank you for all your beautiful divrei chizuk, for your words of encouragement and everything that you've shared with us, because you've really helped us to change the way we think. And then I checked with my friend, and it was somebody by the name of Tammy Carmel. And Tammy has, what do they call it here? But she has L's. And she has given so many talks all over, and she's given so much positivity and inspiration. And I actually said, you know, I was standing there at Kever Rachel, and I really just felt like this wave of just like calm next to me, just total calm. There was no, it was like you see somebody in a place like that and you think to yourself, like, you know, you should have agitation or some, it was just calm. And I actually turned, and there was this beautiful young woman, and I think it's a daughter, who has this huge Sefer Tehillim with these big, big, big letters. And she was just reading Tehillim to her. And I said to her, you know, I don't know what it is, but I just feel that there's, you know, this is just being my biggest zechus, my biggest merit, just standing here and davening together with you, Tammy, and this wonderful lady. And you know, yeah.
Just tell me again, because I was by the kitchen sink. Just tell me again what she said about worrying, not worrying.
Don't worry about anything until something happens and comes time to worry about it. Like, don't preempt the worry. Like, don't have anxiety. Like, let go. It's all in Hashem's hands. He's going to give you all these things. Put up a big sign in your room. Put a sign on your fridge. Put a sign next to your bed. Put a sign on the dining room table. What do you got to worry about? You know, what do we have to worry about? There's nothing to worry about. Don't worry. And even when something comes up and comes, what are you going to do? Worry? No, just do what Hashem wants us to do. Do what Hashem wants us to do. That's all. Right? We don't know what's going to happen. We worry about something that's going to happen, and actually exactly the opposite, which is great and fantastic and good, happens the next moment. And we worry that it's not going to be like that. So what are we worrying about? It takes away the present and it takes away the future. If we live in the present and trust that whatever Hashem's going to do for us in the future, you live in the present, and we say it's okay. Okay. Now, you can't be irresponsible with that. So if I don't have, you know, funds in my bank to buy the yacht that was grounded at Gibraltar, you know, in the early parts of the Russian oligarchs being taken, having their things seized, you know, I can't be stupid and say, oh, let me just buy this yacht and Hashem will take care of me and he'll give me the money to pay for the yacht. Like, don't be stupid, you know, and even on a much smaller level. But if I have to worry about, like, how am I going to pay this, and how am I going to do this, and how am I going to, the things that are, and what's going to happen, and what if that happens, and what if this doesn't? And then we've got to say, you know what? Hashem knows what is going to happen anyway. He knows what's going to be. He knows what's going to be. So why am I going to worry about what's going to be? Because it doesn't have to be. Right? And that is, it's just, it takes away like this. Okay, we put your life, you say, Hashem, I trust you. I trust you so much. I know that whatever it is that's happening is good for me. Right? I just heard about a gorgeous young couple. He's been studying here for years and years. He was much older when he got married. His wife had been married and divorced and had been dating for years and years. They got married. She's Baruch Hashem, got a lovely family. And he thought that he was going to be able to stay here with a good job at Great Ormond Street and become a consultant and earn enough money, whatever. And he's still, but you know what? He's going to have to go to America now because they need to earn more money, and they need to, so he's got a job offer already in America. Now, if you're worrying about it all the time, so her mother said to me, oh my gosh, and I'm like, no, she said, it's fine. She says they have been through things in their life they never believed that they would get through. And she got through them. So now she's got to know that she's going to get through her daughter living in America. She doesn't mean she's going to go, but whatever it is. Now, if we're worrying about all these different things happening and whatever, so we can't even have the peace of mind to do it. You know, if we knew that it was going to be, you know, people say, oh, I'd be so calm if I knew, you know, if Laura knew that she was going to meet Benji at whatever age, she would not for 1 second ever have thought about, you know, what if, because she would have known Chaim ben Avraham should have an Aliyah and a Shamas. Right? So for 1 second, we don't think about it. But all these little things, they're there for us and they play games with us because it's our thought process, and we have to breathe it in and breathe it out and let it go. And so I've just got to do the best that I can do today. But if I worry about what I'm not doing and I worry about what is going to be, then I lose out on everything. I lose out on everything. And that's why my fear of Hashem can't be a scary fear that, see you, dolls. Say goodbye to all the ladies there. If it can't be a fear of Hashem that paralyzes me and stops me doing things, right? It's got to be a fear of Hashem that says, I'm up and away, and I'm going to do even better than I was going to do. Because it's an awe. It's, Hashem, you are so unbelievably great, and give and do, and I just have to be able to know that I can do your commandments the way I'm supposed to, or the best to my ability. That's all. The best of my ability. That's what I need to do. Not in anybody else's expectation, nobody filling anybody else's footsteps, just my own. That's who I am. This is who you made me, and I've got to do the best that I personally can do. I can't do better for somebody else. You know, I look at my pictures and I think that if I was, you know, judged on Rebbetzin Kanievsky's anything, oh my gosh, good luck to you, Joanne, you know? But that's not the expectation that Hashem has of me. He only has my personal one. And he's not saying to me, you know, you've got to do what Rebbetzin Kanievsky does. Because by 5 o'clock in the morning, she had already davened, said Tehillim, you know, by 7. You know, she had said the Hol of Sefer Tehillim, she had said Nishmas, she had said Shira Shirim. She was now starting to daven Shacharis, okay, and finishing davening Shacharis in the shul at the 7:30 or 8 o'clock minyan, and then still sat with her husband at night to go through all the names of the people that had come to them to ask for them to daven for them. Ha! Then we can say, well, look where she comes from. Well, you know what? That's exactly why. Because I wonder what she would have done had she grown up where I grew up. Nobody knows. So we have to remind ourselves that, right? We all make our own choices. And those choices are, how well do I want to do for me? Not because of anybody else. How well do I want to do for me? Because it's me who has to do it right, not anybody else, right? So those are those things. And when we look at the vastness, I'm just looking at Emma's water, and I'm thinking, you know, when you stand and you look at the sea, and you can't see to the end, when you sit on my balcony that I was on in Herzliya, and you look at the sea, and you just think, like, where? Like, how? Hashem, how did you do this? How did you make this Yama Gadol with a whole life? There's a whole life going underneath there. Do you know what's going on in the sea? We don't see it, but there's a life. We don't see the roots growing now while they're under the tree, under the ground. We don't see any of those things. So we don't see our neshama. We don't see our neshama. We just have to nurture it, and we just have to believe in it. And we just have to say, okay, how are we going to continue to believe in that and grow with it? Because I can do better than I did yesterday. And I can apologize to Hashem for the things that I know that I've done wrong. But let me do that. Let me do that. Right? And that's why it's so important that we see that. So when we see that fear of punishment and the fact that Hashem punishes people who transgress Hashem's will is one of those things that the human mind does not understand, we are commanded to have faith, emunah, in the system. This is what it is. Do we all get punished? Mida keneged mida? No. There's lots of things that go. And that's why when it comes to our final time, we want to be able to stand up there, and we don't know when that is, but we want to be able to stand in front of those judges and say, wow, I did okay. I'm okay. I did the best that I could do. That was my best. I know that that was the best. I know that it was. But there are times that we know that we're not doing our best. And we say to ourselves, well, how am I going to do better? And it's very hard for us to think about the little things that we can do better in, but we need to do that. And this is the time that we need to just think for ourselves. You know, okay, Hashem, let's make ourselves a little inventory. Just write yourself in a little book, take it with you because it's going to be with you for Rosh Hashanah. Start making yourself a little list. And it only needs to be on a plain piece of paper, okay? But don't write it, you know, put it on a plain piece of paper that you're going to take with you in your book. You know, we say when it comes to Yom Kippur, and obviously we'll talk about it more, when it comes to Yom Kippur, if you find the things that you had to do tshuva for last year, they're probably going to be the same things this year, unless you really made a huge step and changed things. So I say, can you imagine, alavai, we could be able to say the clarity between keeping not kosher and keeping kosher. Like Hashem, you know what? 6 months ago, I wasn't eating kosher. Now I am, and I've committed to it. Whoa, just look at me. Now, and then I say, you know what we've got to be able to say, Hashem? Doesn't matter how much you test me with all these things, I'm still keeping kosher. I'm still doing it. I still go away. We still go to places. I still check. I go to Israel. I wish you could have seen my breakfast at the Ritz Plaza. I called the mashgiach. I said to the mashgiach, could you tell me like what's not heter mechira here, like for shmita? Like what can I eat? He takes me around. Well, I could have lettuce. So I had my plain omelette. I could have cheese. I could have had the cakes. I could have all those things, everything like that. But when it came to vegetables, really, I wanted a nice big fat omelette with a huge big salad that I didn't have to prepare and cut up. But I couldn't have any of it. I could have the lettuce because I personally am strict on keeping shmita. That's my personal thing. So I had my yummy lettuce leaves. They were yum because I didn't wash them and check them myself. So they were extra yum, right? And they were holy leaves. So it was okay. And I could have my whole thing of my leaves with my omelette. And it was fantastic. But I could have focused on all those things that I couldn't have. So I'm saying to Hashem, Hashem, you know what? I was put up at the Ritz Plaza. I mean, come on. You don't think that I should have just had the salad, heter mechira? It's okay. It's not kosher. It's a choice. So I can say this year, see Hashem, I valued your land and Eretz Yisrael so much for me. And don't worry about anybody else because it's a strictness that I take on myself. But I valued that so much. That's my kosher. And I got that. So at least I know I've got these little things. I must write them down and take them with me on Rosh Hashanah because I don't want to forget about it. And we're going to be looking at this whole picture. I don't want to forget. So write it down. Put it in your notebook. You see? You know, I really, really wanted to talk the Lashon Hara. I did too much of it anyway, but I really wanted to say something extra. And you know what I did? Just those 5 minutes. So just remind yourself, you see, Hashem, this is what I did. I really, and it's very hard. You know how hard it is. So I'm just telling you, I did it. So I'm taking that with me. And this is only because I fear you. Only because of Hashem. Come on, otherwise what are we going to be doing? Have you been shopping in Costco lately? Have you seen the price of those ready-made chickens and the clean polkas? My gosh, they're spotless, not a hair. I don't know why kosher chickens are so hairy. I don't know, maybe they leave payers on their feet. I don't know. But honestly, I just like think to myself, like sometimes, like, why? You think the wings, can't they shave under their arms? I mean, do me a favor, come on. You know? Like, please. Like, what's with us? Right? So not are they paying less, they get them clean. But spiritually, we're way ahead. And that takes faith. That is emunah. It's emunah that I'm paying double the amount of money for kosher chickens that are hairy than the other way around. That I believe in it. That is my emunah in Hashem. Because you told me that we got to do this. We told me that I have to do this. So I'm doing it. Why? Because I'm one of your daughters. I'm very special and holy, and I'm one of your children. And that is why I am going to do this, and that is why I'm going to keep it. And that's what we all have to do. We have to remind ourselves that every time you go and choose an article in Tesco's, and you're checking that it's kosher, it's faith, it's emunah. It is total emunah. It is emunah in believing that this is what we have to do and eat. It is emunah in trusting the people that are doing it. And we're just doing it because we trust Hashem. How stunning. How stunning. So don't forget, because it's so important, right? Whatever we're going to do, we're going and we're helping Claire when she has her ladies' coffee club. Why are we doing this? Just add on, Hashem, I'm looking after your children. Doesn't matter how old they are, they're your children. That is something. And why am I doing this? Because I trust you. That's all. I trust you that this is good and the right thing to do. Our immediate family that we have to still look after, whether we like it or not, with all the challenges, Hashem, you gave this to me. And I'm going to do it. We're going to daven, we're going to trust that you've given us the things that are good, and we're going to trust that you have given us that what we don't see as good is actually good for us. And that's where we need to be. So what we can do during the next, however many weeks, we've still got 20 days, and it's really important for us, besides the cooking, less cooking, you know, Rosh Hashanah, less cooking, not too many, you know, in the more, the truth is, in the more secular, traditional is to have your 30, 40 people, like, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40 people, whatever it is for your Rosh Hashanah dinners. Right? It distracts you from what we're supposed to be doing. I used to love it. Rabbi Grunfeld used to daven in the yeshiva here. And him and Rebbetzin Grunfeld ate their Rosh Hashanah meals quietly, just the two of them, or if any one or two or three children with them. That's Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is not a time for frivolity and fun and family get-togethers. That you can do anytime. It's lovely that we do have our family. Don't, you know, but we've got to understand that that's what it's about. It's about the focus. It's about us connecting. It's about fear. It's about understanding what it is that we need to do. And then next week, we will talk about Yira, which is the fear part of Hashem. But when we fear with love and happiness and, you know, then that will be for us a place that says, you know what, Hashem, I'm writing this down because I know I did that because of you. I'm writing this down because I have to remind not Hashem. He's got his book. He remembers everything. We're writing it down for me to remind myself that actually all the good and all the positive things that I'm doing. And that we have to remind ourselves. Okay. So nice to be back with everyone. I've missed you all.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
So much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Have a good
It's
week,
lovely
everyone.
to have everybody back and a beautiful
Thank
week.
you, Joanne.
Pleasure. Speak soon.